pound for pound, ounce for ounce, molecule for molecule. In many cases, they held their own against the drug, some cases more powerfully. Recently, there was an interesting study that showed if you actually increase your level of by an extra serving a week, you can increase your longevity, your survival by 7 years, so cancers have hijacked. So your regular immune system is all these soldiers that are patrolling your body all the time. They can't see the cancer because they're completely cloaked. 200 people that had different types of cancers, and they were all treated with a monotherapy, and of course only 20% had the good response. So she could not find any difference between the responders and the non-responders except for one bacteria. The people who responded it had it in their gut. That one bacteria was, wouldn't it be much better if we could actually prevent the disease in the first place? And what's interesting is the same science that teaches us how to intercept and tackle a disease using drugs actually teaches us in some ways a hell of a lot more about how to prevent the disease in the first place. How do we actually, not just pick up the pieces after the time bomb explodes or the stick of dynamite, but how do we actually pull the fuse out or disarm the time bomb? Right. So that's what got me really interested in diverting my scientific focus from treatments to taking a look at prevention. Now, if you're talking about disease, it's pretty straightforward. Diagnose it, find a treatment, write a prescription, refer to a specialist. If you're talking about prevention, you're really talking about health. And this brings me full circle to where you started where we're starting. So what is health, right? I mean, I'm just like everyone else. Well, if I'm not, are you healthy? Well, if I'm not sick, I'm actually healthy, right? So in most people's minds, including mine, not being sick is kind of the default definition of being healthy. But that is very problematic because the absence of something, the absence of disease is impossible to operationalize. You can't do something about the absence of something else. So that's what I started to ask. Well, what is health if it's not just the lack of disease? Well, it turns out that, and this has been my research, turns out that health is not just the absence of disease. It is the result of our body's own hardwired defense systems, health defense systems that we're born with. These defense systems are formed in the womb before we're born, and the moment we appear on planet Earth, our health defenses are firing on all cylinders from day one all the way to our very last breath. And all of a sudden, that gives us a whole new canvas to understand what can we do to support health. What can we do to boost our body's health defenses? Our body has 5 very simple health defense systems that have now been discovered. They are number 1, something called angiogenesis. That's blood vessels. That's how our body grows blood vessels. Angio means blood vessels. Genesis is how the body grows blood vessels. We got 0 miles worth of blood vessels packed in our body. And these are the highways and byways of our oxygen, our nutrients, whatever we breathe, whatever we eat in order for our cells to get the benefits of the critical elements of life. They have to be carried by the blood vessels. So that's so critical for our defenses. That's healthy. Number 2, our stem cells. When we were kids, we were told that starfish and salamanders can regenerate, but humans can't. Guess what? That textbook's been thrown right out the window because humans do regenerate just slowly. And we know that we regenerate because our hair grows back. Our skin can actually heal and grow itself back. But some of the crazy things that we're beginning to actually discover is that if you snip a piece of your lung off, it'll grow right back at the very tip. If you take away 2/3 of your liver, okay, let's say that you have a tumor in your liver, You can remove 2/3 of it, and that 1/3 will grow the rest of the liver back, kind of like a salamander's leg. It's crazy, and of course our nerves regenerate, and so biotech companies have been trying for decades now to figure out how to inject stem cells. Well, Mother Nature's already beat them to it because stem cells are present in our body as a defense. And we're continuously regenerating ourselves from the inside out, repairing problems. You know, there's a road crew inside our body, yours and mine, right here, right now, that are fixing things that are invisible to us. Third, microbiome, we can talk more about this. You know, it's the tip of the spear of a whole new frontier about the human body that we're just beginning to understand. But the important part of it is that we know that when we've got good, healthy gut bacteria, and this microbiome is the ecosystem of our gut bacteria. I call it the Great Barrier Reef in our body. You know, 39 trillion bacteria all living inside there. And what we know, the important part for your viewers and listeners, is that they help when they're healthy. They help to lower inflammation in our body, which then lowers all kinds of disease. They help optimize their metabolism. Everybody's always worried about their metabolism. Good gut bacteria helps that right along. Fight fat. Help to avoid insulin sensitivity over and avoid glucose surges. All very important. Controls our hormones, you know, so that our mood and our brain, so our mood is actually healthy as well and can fight cancer and regulate obesity, all kinds of things. If our gut, and it, by the way, it's so easy to disrupt the gut. I mean, think about a tanker spill that destroys, you know, a coral reef. That's what we can accidentally do to ourselves by eating the wrong things. You know, if you were taking a boat by the Great Barrier Reef and you were to take a bottle of toxic material and pour it right down on top of the coral reef, guarantee you that the fish and the anemones are all going to be dead. Okay, that's what we do to ourselves. So, this higher level of awareness that we have to take care of our gut microbiome. So important for defending our health. Our gut defends our health. Fourth, our DNA defends us against the environment. So, most people think about our DNA as our genetic code. Yes, it is. It is the blueprint for our proteins in our body that we inherited half from our mom, half from our dad, etc., etc. However, the really cool unsung part of our DNA is that it's one of our body's 5 health defense systems. What does it do? It fixes itself. What do I mean by fixing itself? Well, if we go out, you know, during the summer, and you go to the beach, and you are enjoying laying out, you know, enjoying the weather, beach weather, the ultraviolet radiation is coming in and mutating your DNA. Now, how come we don't develop cancer all the time after going out to the beach? Because our DNA is hardwired to fix itself when it's damaged by the environment. And the beach is one thing, and I'm not even talking about the tanning slot. But I always ask people when you're actually filling up your car with gas, like you're at the gas tank. Do you stand upwind or downwind of the pump? And people go, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, if you smell the fumes, the solvents, then you're standing downwind. And if you smell them, you're breathing in solvents that can mutate the DNA in your lung. So how come we don't get lung cancer? Because our DNA fixes itself. An amazing defense system that our DNA plays. And then finally is our immune system, which of course you know after the past year and a half everybody knows just how important good strong immunity actually is. But most people don't know that even as we get older, our immune system still has the capacity of fighting invaders not just outside invaders like viruses and bacteria, but inside invaders like cancer. So we are able to now, and this is one of the most remarkable things I've seen in my medical career, give people who have cancer, even metastatic cancer, that spread immune treatments that by themselves don't kill the cancer but uncloak the cancer so that your immune system can go after the cancer. And even if you've got metastatic disease, even brain metastases, it's possible in some cases now for remove your own immune system to wipe out all traces of cancer and put you not just in remission. Okay, that's what chemo does, can put you in remission, but immunotherapy can actually turn the clock back and reset yourself so you don't have cancer anymore. Broadly speaking, immunotherapy is harnessing your body's own immune system to fight the cancer, which is different than inventing a toxic drug or even a smart bomb, a targeted drug to actually go after the cancer. So immunotherapy relies on your immune system. It is true what you just said. There are some very specific kinds of immune systems where you can remove your immune system, reprogram it, kind of turn it from turn it from an ordinary immune cell into a super soldier, okay, and then inject it back in the body and it will go after the cancer. But there are other forms of immune therapy where what you're doing, and this is what I was talking about. Cancers like to develop these sneaky ways of hiding from your immune system. They cloak themselves. Like the old Star Trek, the Klingons would turn on cloaking device, and now the Enterprise can't find the enemy ship. Okay, well, that's what cancers actually do. Some immunotherapies, all they do is they rip the cloak off the cancer, and the immune system goes, regular immune system goes, aha, I see you. I'm going to come after you, and I'm going to get you. Because what keeps you and I from actually developing lethal cancers right here, right now, Tom, is that our immune system is spotting little tiny harmless microscopic cancers and saying, I see you, you're gone, okay, you're dead meat, and they just clear off. It's like taking an eraser, just erasing the cancer right off the chalkboard. All right. So, when you uncloak a cancer, it allows your immune system to do this. The best example of this is former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. When he was in his 90s, he developed a melanoma that had spread to his liver and his brain. And it was at that point. This is about 10 years ago now, almost 10 years ago. A brain metastasis from a skin cancer melanoma is pretty much a death sentence. And so he happened to be one of the first people to actually get a treatment that ripped the cloak off of the melanoma cells in his brain and elsewhere. And it allowed his 90-year-old immune system to see that cancer. And even at that age, even with that spread, he had all of his cancer cleared out of his system. And I used that knowledge to help treat my own mother who actually had metastatic endometrial cancer. So this is this cameo home to roost really on a personal level. And we were able to replicate that kind of finding not from a skin cancer, but from an endometrial uterus cancer. So, we haven't beaten cancer completely yet, but I'll tell you, I did not expect in my career, in my lifetime, to be able to see it's possible to take somebody with advanced cancer and turn a clock back and literally erase it off the chalkboard using immunotherapies. And so, I'm talking about drugs. I talked a lot about drugs and stem cells, and all that kind of stuff. But the amazing thing is that with this hardcore knowledge, now I've worked in biotechnology. So I know what it takes to develop technologies to go after these enhance these health defenses. But what's amazing is that it's very hard to beat Mother Nature, and you can talk about drugs when you're talking about treating disease, but when you're talking about prevention and raising your shields, amping up your health defenses, you can't talk about drugs. You got to talk about something like food. And food is a medicine we take 3 times a day. And that's what I wrote about in my book, Eat Disease. There are many different ways to cloak. We're discovering new ways. And there in cancer, there's many ways. The one that actually has been amenable to immunotherapies has been a protein called PD-L1. It's called programmed death lion 1. So this PD-L1 protein is made by lots of different cells to help our healthy cells to protect ourselves against our immune system. So why don't most of us have autoimmune diseases? Because our immune system is jacked up and ready to kind of attack anything that it doesn't want. Well, it can recognize self or healthy self from disease because our healthy cells have created this protein called PD-L1, and it basically raises the flag, okay, like on the lawn that says, hey, you know what, we're normal, please don't attack us. So cancers have hijacked PD-L1, and they make lots of PD-L1 all over themselves. And so basically, your immune system kind of wings right by. So these super soldiers, their regular immune system is with all these soldiers that are patrolling your body, our body all the time. They can't see the cancer because they're completely cloaked. It's just wearing another kind of assassin in a crowd waving a flag, and so it ignores it, and yet there it is. It's right there. So when you actually take that flag away, and you let the body's secret service spot that thing, okay, then your immune system will find the cells that are not waving the flag, that protein PD-L1, say, ooh, I'm coming after you. Actually, most of the bacteria in our body is good. There's a few bad actors, but most of them are good. And a lot of the good ones live in our gut. Okay, and the gut bacteria, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, do all kinds of amazing and crazy kind of things. One of the things they do is the gut bacteria talks to our immune system, which connects back to the immunotherapy. So you need to have a good immune system that's ready to rock. Okay, ready to respond to the immunotherapy that you may be treated with. That's what's hanging in the bag. So if you hang something in the bag, the antibodies that go into your bloodstream that rip off the cloaking device, you still need the other half of your immune system. The other half is the immune system has got to be good enough to go after it. Now, it turns out the microbiome pretty much is the trainer for the immune system, one of the trainers, one of the caretakers, one of the housekeepers of the immune system. And so if your microbiome isn't in good shape, your immune system is not going to be in good shape as well. Now, here's what's kind of crazy. Most doctors that are out there in practice now, when we were in school, we were told that our immune system, like where's your immune system? It's in our lymph nodes. It's in our spleen. It's in our thymus. You know, people kind of like we had a checkbox of places that the immune system is located, right? You get a lymph node after you got like a sore throat or flu or something like that, bronchitis. That's not where the immune system is. Now, we know that there's some there, but actually 70% of our immune system lives inside our gut. So, think about your intestines, right? It's a big long tube like a sausage casing, a garden hose. Cut a garden hose in half, it's got a layer. Inside that layer, think about the jelly rolls. Think about it like a jelly roll. Now, inside the middle of that layer is 70% of our immune system inside our gut, wrapped like the jelly in a jelly roll. Now, where is the bacteria? The bacteria is inside our gut. That ecosystem is inside our gut, like inside the tube. and then the jelly rolls where the immune system is 70% of our immune system. So what happens? What's the connection? What's the collaboration? Our gut talks to our immune system like college roommates living in a dorm, right? So you go to college, paper-thin walls, right? Some guy wants pizza. What are we gonna have tonight? You know, you just pound through the wall and shout through the wall, and the guy knows what you want to order, right? That's the same thing. Your gut bacteria can talk to the immune system through the walls of the bacteria and help to prompt them and give them commands on how to actually get in good shape. Drop down and give me 50. You know, like that's actually what our gut bacteria is able to do for our immune system. Now, there's one bacteria that's actually they're different bacteria that are important for different things. We're just beginning to discover this. There's one bacteria that seems to be particularly important. It's called Akkermansia muciniphila. Akkermansia muciniphil. I'm going to come back to the name in a second. So this immunotherapy cancer therapy. I mean, it's truly remarkable what it can actually achieve in its best form. Okay, but yeah, only about 20% of people are the kind of responders that we wish we all would be, right? The Jimmy Carters or my mother's, for example. And so, one of my colleagues in Paris, Dr. Lance Sitbugle is an immunoncologist. Okay, and she took 200 people that had different types of cancers, breast, colon, pancreas, right. And she and they were all treated with immunotherapy, and of course only 20% had the good response, the beneficial response. The other one were soy response. Okay, and she looked at everything that made the difference between responders and non-responders, right? That's a typical thing that an analyst would do. What makes the good one? What makes a bad one? What are the differences? She could not find any difference between the responders and the non-responders except for one bacteria. That one bacteria was Akkermansia muciniphila. The people who responded had it in their gut. One bacteria, and the people who didn't respond to immunotherapy had a bad outcome were missing it. That's so interesting. You're so crazy. Okay. So she took she replicated that in the lab and found that if she had mice growing cancers and she gave them immunotherapy, if she gave them an antibiotic to wipe out Akkermansia man, the cancer just grew. They didn't respond to the treatment. If she put Akkermansia back in their gut, the tumors responded. They shrank. It disappeared. Amazing, right? And by the way, she got the Akkermansia from human patients. She put it back into the mouse. So, all right. So, what does it have to do with how to boost Akkermansia? Right, because it's very sensitive. You have, if I were to give you a Z-pack, okay, to treat a bronchitis, that would wipe out Akkermansia. Your body will eventually grow it back slowly but surely. But if you had cancer and you're getting this treatment, you cannot afford, you don't have time. Time's not in your side, right? So we cannot eat Akkermansia right now as a supplement. There doesn't exist. It's not a probiotic. Okay, not yet. The only thing that we can do is actually grow Akkermansia. So we have to be our own gardeners of our microbiome to grow the Akkermansia. So our immune system is in good shape, so that the Akkermansia can talk to the immune system, so that part of it in good shape to respond to immunotherapy. How do you do that? Well, it's all in the name. Okay, Akkermansia mucin. This bacteria loves to grow in mucus, loves to grow in the mucus of the gut. Our gut normally secretes mucus, so the more mucus we have, it's like fertilizer. The more Akkermansia will grow. So how do we grow the mucus? Well, you can eat foods. Pomegranate juice, the elagitannins, natural chemicals, and pomegranate actually one of the few things that can stimulate our gut, natural natural substance in our gut naturally to secrete more mucus. So you can grow back your acromantia. So that's basically what we're doing now with some of these cancer patients, is making sure before they get immunotherapy that they're actually growing back their acromantia. So when we were in our mom's wombs, and sperm met egg and started to form a little ball of cells that didn't look anything like a person yet, but started to create little organs and start to create shape. The first organs that get created are blood vessels. Our circulation is the first thing that gets created. So our blood supply, our circulation is very much a part of who we are. And I mentioned that we have 60 0 miles worth of blood vessels. Just to give you a sense of how extraordinarily big that is, if you were to pull out all the blood vessels from you or me and line them up end to end, that would form a thread that would go around the earth twice. Huge, it is insane. Now, are every single cell in our body, every organ relies on just the right amount of blood flow. So, they're getting fed with oxygen and nutrients. If they don't need more than just the right amount, but if they don't have enough, our body has to be able to grow more. This having just the right amount, I call it the Goldilocks zone. So, Goldilocks, remember the story. The bears went in there and it's not too hot, not too cold, not too hard, not too soft. Well, our health defenses, including angionesis, is exactly the same way. Not too much and not too little, but just the right amount. So this just right zone exists for our blood vessels, our stem cells, our microbiome, our DNA kind of balance, as well as our immune system. It's all about homeostasis, the term you used earlier, just the right amount. Now, that means our body knows how to grow more when it's necessary, and then when there's enough, it stops. And if there's too much, it's kind of like a gardener, that sees your lawn overgrowing. It the lawn, just mows it right back down till it gets to the right height. Our body's health defenses when they're working at their best is like a perfectly manicured lawn. Not too much, not too little, just the right amount to be able to go around like playing like rounds of golf on a perfect course. Now, what tumors do is they hijack this process, and so they, like a tumor, is sitting on a golf course and just grows extra weeds and grass right just for itself. So that's what gets targeted. Your body tries to fight that off, but sometimes we need some extra help for it. That extra help can be a smart bomb drug that we designed to target those extra blood vessels, or we can help our body mow the lawn by eating foods that have antiandrogenic or blood vessel mowing capacity. You'll never be able to get rid of them all. It's just back down to the body's set point. So, what's an example of a drug that can actually do this? There's monoclonal antibodies that are designed like smart bombs to take out tumor blood vessels. But foods can actually do it too. Now, why can drugs and foods target a tumor blood vessel and not take down your aorta or the blood vessels feeding your brain like your carotid artery? It's because when we build healthy blood vessels, our body takes great care to construct them to be very, very strong. It's like building a skyscraper. The architects and the contractors and their craftsmen, they make everything perfect as they can. But when a tumor does it, it's not careful contractor. It's like a lousy contractor. Just throws the thing up. And so the blood vessels that are grown are flimsy. They're fragile. They're unstable, and so think about, a hurricane like Eric and Ida sweep through the area. And the strong, sturdy structures, our healthy blood vessels, are going to stay up even when the wind is there. All the ones that are not well constructed, the wind blows them right down. and that's why a tumor blood vessel is much more vulnerable to either food or drug. All the research, scientific research has been done, and the epidemiological, the public health research shows that eating a mostly plant-based diet, that's pretty broad, fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, healthy oils, good for you. You should eat most of mostly. That doesn't mean, and by the way, plant-based could be tricky because a lot of ultra-processed foods also have plant materials in it. Processed soy, all kinds of other things, all kinds of unhealthy oils made from plants. However, it's whole plant-based foods. It's kind of stuff you'd find in a grocery store or farmer's market. Okay, like I would say mostly go for those. Okay. Seafood has been shown to improve survival and decrease the risk of death if you eat 2 or 3 servings of seafood. It could be fish or shellfish. You get healthy omega-3 fatty acids. 2 to 3 servings per week. And the amount you would eat, which I write a whole chapter about food doses, you would eat is about 3 ounces. So people like, well, I'm not a human scale. I have no idea what 3 ounces is. What I would say, it's a lot less than you think. It is a piece of fish about the size of a deck of playing cards. You can put it in your palm and it's it's about as thick as a deck of playing cards. Not that big a deal. And and people who love seafood can get a lot of it that way. Recently, there was an interesting study that showed if you actually increase your level of omega-3 by an extra serving a week or 2 from wherever you are with your starting point, you can increase your longevity, your survival by 7 years. So, an extra serving of omega-3 rich seafood, you increase your survival by lifetime survival by 7 years. Now, you can get, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you can get omega-3s from plant-based foods. So, chia seeds, flax seeds, some of the nuts, you can get those as well. But what in plant-based foods, you get a different kind of substrate to make your omega-3s. So, you got to eat a lot more of it. So, I like diversity. So, whole plant-based foods, seafoods, if you actually eat fish, if you don't, explore it, if it's not for some ethical reason. And then look, and dairy, by the way, when it comes to food and health, there's no universals, okay. Some dairy products, like honestly cheeses are good for the microbiome because many traditionally made cheeses, not in large quantities. They've got saturated fats and a lot of salt, but some cheeses actually have lactobacillus and other healthy gut bacteria that we can use as a probiotic food. Yogurt, a dairy product, probiotic food. And so I'm all about the science. Wherever the science takes me is where the evidence takes me. There was a great American novelist named El Toro, and he had this great quote. He once said, he's a novelist, writing is like driving at night. You can't see beyond your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. And that's what science is like. You just can only see where your headlights are going, and you're focusing on the evidence and ignoring all the darkness that's actually out there. So, what about meat? Okay. I can tell you that most of the research has been pretty convincing that if you eat a lot of red meat, okay, which was really only done for the last 70 years or so, since the 1950s, before that, most societies didn't have where we're not prosperous enough to have a ton of meat around, okay, and now we have an abundance of meat, and we've industrialized meat, and all the things that are not so good for us. But all the studies show that eating a lot of red meat, and all the studies have shown that eating processed meats, We're talking about our sausages and the pepperonis and all kinds of other hot dogs, all that kind of stuff. That's been classified by the World Health Organization as a carcinogen, by the way, processed meats. You know, once in a while, especially if that's something you really enjoy, don't worry about it. Knock yourself out, enjoy it, but do not do it all the time. And if you can cut it down or cut it out, more power to you, better for you. And so this whole idea about, life is for the living. Got to enjoy our how we do things. Some things we enjoy aren't that good for us. Some people like to roll down the windows or take the top down and drive really fast on a road faster than the speed limit. Just don't do it all the time, because one of these times you're going to actually get into an accident, right? And so I think that idea of moderation. But if you're informed by science and you can actually then listen to your body, if you feel like crap after eating something, don't go for it. Don't eat it the next time or eat less of it. The science is just so rich at this point in time in history that anybody that wants to get into food as medicine, as a science, not as a trend, but as a real science, has a huge future ahead of them. Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.